Recording started. All right, welcome to the Phoenix Lounge. I am your host, E. Davis, and we are on the air now from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. So dial in at 605-562-0444 or 717-734-6904 and press the identification number 546-1150. Then if you want to listen, of course, press £1 and *2 to talk to me live. We're on the air, brought to you by Ngozi Time Multimedia. I am once again your host, E. Davis, and I'm very excited to be talking to you today about your creativity and how to tap into your creativity. Last month, we discussed ways of tapping to your creativity, journaling, taking a walk, how to get inspired by images and sights. And this time we want to be talking about cooking, right? How cooking helps you tap into your creativity, and it also helps with the mental mentals. And I in the past, I will say for me personally, the past maybe 4 years, I have acquired the love of cooking. I am not a chef by any means. However, when my husband and I decided to be more plant-based, it was forcing me to actually cook certain foods, how to add a teaspoon of garlic or half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, a tablespoon of olive oil and things like that. And it was just a love for it. And I love cooking for my family. And then I just love creating the plates, putting everything on the plate, making it really, really beautiful to present to my family, just almost how the restaurant do it, make it look really pretty. It made me feel good. And this is, of course, during the treacherous pandemic. So this was kind of healing for me and how to get through that time when you're confined to your house for that time frame that we had. So we're going to, of course, I have my notes. We are going to be going over some psychological and information that deals with the culinary arts, the mindfulness of cooking, creative and self-expression, your plate as a canvas. Okay, that's what I had mentioned before, how to create that beauty. Cooking as self-care, the flow state, cooking through difficult times, a coping mechanism. And I'll be posting some links. And more importantly, we're going to be reviewing Black Cake by Charmaine Wilson. I want to talk about this book first because this book is actually what inspired me to even come up with this topic. This is an awesome book because it deals with a family, and they are dealing with the loss of a loved one, the death of a loved one, and it's about a black cake. What is a black cake? A black cake is a rum cake, but it was also known in the Caribbean as black cake. And what was done was they create this black cake, and it was something that just brought the family together. And who doesn't love the pastries of coming together, right? The black cake helped solve the issues that family was going through. Okay, the Golden Girls, when they would get together, they would have they would sit down and have their cheesecake, right? They would talk about the problems, they would talk about their issues, they would stay up late and talk about that. Remember the TV show, the movie Soul Food. Soul Food was, of course, something within, of course, the Black community where, the family came together and they had Sunday dinner. It was all the siblings, it was the spouses and the cousins, and it was Big Mama, and she would fry the chicken, she would fry the fish, she would have the greens, the mac and cheese, the cornbread, and they would talk, they would just fellowship, just have that time together, put all the issues aside and just come together. And then when there was a problem, they was able to talk about it. And then, of course, when that family started to go through their turmoil, at the end of the day, they just came together with the food and sat down and talked as a family. And this is what cooking is going to do, because it's going to help deal with the mental health. This book is the epitome of excellent. I will say that. I highly recommend it. I'm trying to show it up if you are watching me on Facebook. I think it's a beautiful book. It's very well written. And what I also like about it is it has chapters. Each character has their own chapters. Each, even the elements have their chapters because it's putting you in the atmosphere. And when you are tapping into that creative zone, again, I mentioned it last time we came together, you have to put somebody in that atmosphere for them to really understand the issues, right? So let's talk about these issues. The psychology of cooking, how culinary skills impact mental health. All right. So what you want to think about is, have you noticed how the act of cooking can lift your spirits after a long day? Now, there are some people that after a long day, they're just not going to be cooking. They're not going to stand over a hot stove or a hot oven. But if it's something that you need at the end of the day, where you just want to cook a nice, good meal, it's about the delicious end results. The process itself can be a powerful tool for mental well-being, from reducing stress to boosting self-esteem. The psychological benefits of cooking are as rich and varied as the dishes we create. All right, think about how the dishes can bring a certain level of mindfulness. Making a dish helps with creativity. Cooking for others help you show compassion. There is a gentleman that I follow on YouTube called Derek Serrano. I also follow him on Instagram, and he is a chef. And he was a chef for numerous years. I can't even remember, but I know this. But right before he went to a plant-based lifestyle, he was learning how to be a vegan chef. And then while he was doing that, his fiance was killed in an automobile accident. And of course, he was beyond devastated. And what he did was he just left this country. He went on a soul-searching adventure, such as the Eat, Pray, Love mindset. And what he does now is the main reason, the ultimate reason why he is a vegan is because he doesn't want any living thing to hurt like he was hurting when his loved one died. And when he's cooking his food, he's making a big portion of food. This, of course, is something more for one person. So he gives it. He shares with his neighbors. He shares with his friend. He's cooking for the people that he loves. And that's something that you want to do. Show compassion. If you notice someone's going through something, cook them something to eat. Rather they eat it at that moment or they wait till the next day or leftovers, cook them something to eat. And that's showing compassion. Home cooked meals, it is statistically known that home cooked meals are much healthier. Creating a meal from scratch is a huge accomplishment. In the past year, I learned how to make my own bread from sourdough bread to pretzels. I make the sandwich bread. I make my own pizza, and it's much healthier than getting the preserves that you would get from a store-bought product, right? Creating a meal from scratch, is a huge accomplishment. Cooking nourishes the body and the soul. Cooking often requires a deep focus. You got to pay attention. Now, if you're a chef, you might be able to, throw it together. You can multitask, but it requires a deep focus. Making a meal can help during stressful times. Sometimes it's just when things are tough, just cooking again can help bring people together, and it can reduce your stress level. And dealing with food can build resilience because it's the patience. Because there's times where when I'm cooking and I'm starving, like I am starving, and the pasta noodles are taking too long to cook, and I'm maybe cooking something with tofu and it's taking too long for each side to get brown the way I want it, or I'm baking something that's taking too long. But it's building resilience because it's teaching me how to be patient. Okay. How to use cooking as a stress relief tool. Okay. Cooking can be more than just a meal preparation. It can become a powerful way to relieve stress and boost emotional well-being. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over how how making cooking a meal stress uh stress reliving practice. Wow, I am stammering today, so just bear with me. It was a long day. All right. Sensory mindfulness. Cooking is a sensory experience that engages sight, smell, taste, and touch. Focusing on these sensations grounds you in the present moment, reducing stress and anxiety. All right, so while you're in the moment, it's causing you to be less stressful and less it's causing you to be less more patient, sorry. It's helping you tap into your senses, the sight, smell, and taste. Because as you're cooking it, of course, you can see it, you can smell it, you can't wait to taste it. And sometimes you might have to touch it, like stir it up, put your fingers in it. It smells good. A form of mediation, the rhythmic actions of chopping, stirring, and kneading have a meditative quality. When you focus on these tasks with intention, cooking becomes a form of moving meditation, because what you're doing is, like, if you're kneading bread, you're meditating when you think about it, because you have to maybe knead it so many times or knead it for so many minutes. Okay. Stimulating creativity, experiment with new with new recipes or ingredients. Combination stimulates your brain, encouraging a sense of adventure and creativity. Cooking can be a way to express your personality, culture, and emotions. All right. So, of course, we know about the soul food. We got the Southern food, the yams, the greens, the mac and cheese, the fried chicken, right? Cooking can help with your express your personality, because you're putting you in your food, right? And it can deal with your emotions, because sometimes we have a habit of eating our emotions. All right. Problem solving skills. It helps with adapting recipes or salvaging mishaps in the kitchen, taps into your creative problem solving skills. Overcoming challenges in the kitchen can boost mood, self-esteem, and give you a sense of accomplishment. All right, there was a time when I was actually making some tofu eggs, and I was going to sprinkle a little bit of salt, but I hit the wrong side. I used the wrong side, and the side that's not the sprinkler, but where you can scoop out, dumped into this. I was like, oh my gosh, it fell into the tofu egg. So of course it was extremely salty, and we didn't have any more tofu. And of course I just could have went to the store and bought some more, but it was just the point that I was this close to being done. I had all the other ingredients in it, and just by me not thinking. So I need a problem solving skill. So I immediately went on, Google, to find out how to make it less salty, things like that. Now, this particular food item was not salvageable at the time. But what it did was it taught me, one, I got to, again, focus, because if I would have been paying attention, I would have used the right side of the salt. All right. It taught me how to use my resources such as Google. So in the event that I might use too much salt, and again, I can use some type of, say, some type of sweetener, all right, that can kind of take away that salty taste. All right. Emotional comfort. Cooking familiar comfort dishes invokes positive memories and provides emotional comfort. Preparing food for yourself is also a way of showing self-care and affirming that you are worth the effort. Now, I'm a firm believer in self-care. So what I honestly believe in is, when you're cooking, you are taking care of yourself, because again, home cooked meals are much healthier. And what it does is you're showing yourself that I'm not going to just eat fast food. I'm not going to eat something that's unhealthy. There's another gentleman I follow on Instagram known as Plant-Based Brandon, and he was saying that he worked at a post office, and he was constantly tired because of the long hours. He would go get something quick at a McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or pizza, and he was just exhausted end of his day, and he didn't have time to spend time with his wife, spend time with his children. So he adapted a plant-based lifestyle, and that actually increased his energy level. And it also, of course, is healthier. Now, this broadcast this evening is not to promote the plant-based lifestyle. It is to show you that when you take the time to actually cook your meals, it's going to help you feel better about yourself. And what he did, because he took the time to learn how to cook certain meals, he got the energy that he needed to spend more time with his wife. and he got the time to spend with his daughter, and he's doing exceptionally well. He's on Instagram under Plant-Based Brandon if you follow him. Cooking, how to cook as a stress relief tool. Physical tension releases. The physical act of cooking can release built up tension in your body while nourishing yourself satisfies a basic needs, further promoting a sense of calm. Okay, and again, can release physical tension because the act of cooking can help, because you could be hammering that steak, right? You're pounding that steak to get it, to take the toughness out. You're releasing that tension on that steak. Like, what, it was just a rough day. Let me release this tension. Again, dicing up the onions and the peppers, things like that, release some tension. Again, kneading the bread is releasing tension, it's physical tension. And you know what, believe it or not, is good for the arms. All right. Now we're going to be talking about the mindfulness of cooking, finding Zen in chopping and stirring. Okay. Now, the chefs I've seen on TV, they go right through it. Sometimes I'm not moving as fast. I need to keep my digits. So I do take my time. But cooking is a sensory experience that can ground us in the present moment. It keeps you in that moment, because then you're not stressed out on what's happening next week, next month, within the hour. You're in that moment because you're focused, right? Engaging the senses, the sound of the sizzling, the aroma of spices, the feel of kneading the dough, and all the sensations anchor us in the here and now, because you have to prepare this. You have to be in that moment. Focus attention. Following a recipe requires concentration. It can help you quiet a busy mind. If you're following a recipe, especially if you're baking, those who know how to cook and bake know you do your dry ingredients in one bowl, wet ingredients in another, and you got to focus. You might need a half a tablespoon of this and a half a teaspoon of this and a teaspoon of that. And you got to make sure you get it right, because if you don't, your meal or your dish can be ruined. Okay. Rhythm activities like chopping or stirring can be like a meditative, promoting a sense of calm, because sometimes just hearing that the knife hit the cutting board, it's a sense of calm. Stirring, just seeing it move around, it's a sense of calm. By approaching cooking as a mindful practice, you can transform meal preparation to a form of moving meditation, reducing stress and anxiety in the process. And I'm going to say this much. From the time I really focused on cooking healthier meals and veganized meals and plant-based meals for my family, it made me feel good that I'm doing something for my family. I was extremely proud of myself when I made something that's vegan, like a vegan parm or an eggplant parm or a vegan stir fry, or when I really mastered the tofu General Tso. When I even mastered my stir fry with tofu, right? Because it's the onions, it's the carrots. Sometimes I put celery in it. Sometimes I put green pepper and red pepper, and you're infusing these ingredients and you're getting the aroma. And when your family is sitting down and they put that spoon in their mouth and they just close their eyes in delight. Okay. One time, this is before I went fully plant-based, I made mahi-mahi, right? Fish tacos. I made my own marinade. I made my own avocado spread. I made my own pico de gallo. We had a fresh salad with kale and spinach and romaine and black olives and portobello and carrots. And I remember fixing this meal for my brother and my husband. And I set everything down for them. I made it very pretty for them. The shells, that were steamed, and the mahi-mahi was actually cooked on the grill that was marinated in the marinade that I made. I remember looking at my brother's face as he bit into it, and he just closed his eyes and nodded his head like, yeah. And whenever my brother comes to visit, I immediately start cooking for him. I'll ask him if he's hungry. If he's hungry, I'll cook for him. And most of the foods in my house are vegan. And I'll saute something up for him. and I'll prep something and he eats it all. He's enjoying it. And recently at my job, I learned how to make a vegan chicken dip. I did post it on my Facebook page, and a lot of people in my job are actually buying this dip. And it's a combination of smashed chickpeas and vegan mayo and red onion and the proper seasonings, and they are actually joining it. And these are people that swore up and down they will never eat vegan. So it's just I don't know, it was just something very therapeutic for me, and it's just makes me feel good that I have something. And then even the idea of meal prepping, making something that you can put in the fridge so your family can just go grab it, maybe heat it up, and go about their day. All right. So let's see. We are on the air from Nigeria. Dial in at 605-562-0444 or 717-734-6904. Press the show identification number, which is 546-1150, and hit the pound sign. All right. And then press £1. Also press *2 to talk to us live on the air. That's brought to you by Ngozi Time Multimedia. All right. So let's discuss creativity and self-expression, your plate as a canvas. So you may not be an artist, or you may not draw, but think about your plate. Your plate is blank. It's a blank canvas, unless you got designs and flowers or some type of detail. Look at your plate as a canvas. And cooking provides a unique outlet for creativity, which is essential for your mental health. I'm a strong believer that tapping into your creativity can help you cope with any type of mental health triggers, right? We all wrestle with mental health, some more so than the others. We all have an anxiety moment where we're nervous about meeting somebody new, or a new job, or an issue with the job. We all have a moment. We all maybe even go to our comfort foods. We've all maybe talked to someone about how we're feeling, and then some of us will go into the kitchen and cook something just to relieve that tension. All right. Experimentation. When you're working with creating the canvas on your plate, experimentation by trying new recipes or ingredient combination include exploring meal replacement and alternatives, which can stimulate the brain and foster a sense of adventure. I'll use, at the risk of being redundant, I'll use being a vegan. Making veganized meals to replace the meats that you were eating, such as I love seafood. I'm a big seafood connoisseur. So if I need fried fish, if I'm in a mood for fried fish, you get the hearts of palm, you smash it up a little bit, you fork it up a little bit to flake it, and you season it with all your seafood seasonings. It stimulates the brain and fosters a sense of adventure, because it's like, wow, I'm going to taste something that's a great alternative to fish. And I'm excited about this. This is adventure for me. I'm watching how it cooks. I'm watching how I'm seasoning it. I'm smelling the aroma. And my brain is like, what is going on? What are we about to eat? All right. Personal expressions. The dishes that you create can reflect your personality, culture, and your emotion. Okay. Problem solving. We talked about that. When you have any type of kitchen mishaps or exercise your creative problem solving skills, there's always going to be some type of accident in the kitchen where you might cut yourself accidentally with a knife, or you may cook something a little bit too longer, and we call it blackened. There's always going to be a mess up in the kitchen, but it can keep you focused with problem solving skills that can help you, again, tap into your creativity. Okay, the social aspect of cooking as a connector. All right, humans are social creatures, and cooking can be a powerful way to strengthen bonds. It's the bonding thing. Sometimes when you and your spouse are cooking in the kitchen, that's your time together. Shared expressions, cooking with friends or family creates lasting memories and deepens relationships. Cultural exchange, preparing dishes from different cultures, promotes understanding and broadens prospects, which I personally love cultural exchange, because just think about just the unity that you can come together and learning about what the signature meal is in that culture. All right. Acts of love. Cooking for others is a tangible way to show care and reflections, fostering a sense of purpose. These social connections form through cooking and can combat feelings of loneliness and isolations, which are crucial factors in maintaining good health, good mental health. You can say you want to be alone all you want to, and that's fine. You might be a loner, but sometimes just having somebody to interact with, converse with, again, is great mental health. And sitting down and creating certain meals, and exchanging the meals with another culture is a great way to bring unity. I'm not a fan of Indian food. I'm not a fan of um, Thai, but I would be very interested to try it and maybe culture exchange it with a fellow person who enjoys it. And they could teach me about it and what it means to come together. And this was your family signature meal. And that's something that means to you, that creates warm memories and brings unity together. All right, let's talk about nutrition and mood. You are what you cook. You are what you eat. You are what you cook. The link between diet and mental health is well established, and cooking at home puts you in control. So you can control your salt intake, you can control your pepper intake, you can control how much you eat and how much you don't eat. Nutrition rich choices, home cooked meals tend to be more nutritious, providing the brain with necessary fuel. Mood boosting ingredients, certain foods like those rich in omega-3 fatty acids or complex carbohydrates can positively affect the moods. Portion control, cooking your own meals allows better management of portion size, avoiding the mood swings associated with overeating. We've all overeaten. We all done it. We all, mainly, of course, on the holidays. We do the New Year's resolution. We want to get that holiday weight off because we didn't have too many cakes, pies, too much fish, chicken, mac and cheese, greens, turkey, ham, you name it. We've all done it. And I'm not just saying on the holidays. It can be at any time. You can go on a binge or a hormonal binge and just dive all the way in. And then you're just like, wow. But with portion control, you can control exactly what you eat because you're controlling it. And you can't say this person made me feel bigger, like this person caused me to eat this. No, you were in charge of putting that in your mouth. You were in charge of eating that. You know what I mean? By cooking mindfully, you're not just feeding your body, you're nourishing your mind. Okay. I was told that blueberries help with mental clarity. You know what I mean? So if you're somebody that needs to stay focused, say at work or doing a certain an event, you might want to get a handful of blueberries, just a cup full, take them with you to work, pop them in. You just chew it as a nice snack. They're very sweet, they're very nutritious, and there's nothing better than nature's candies, such as raspberries, blueberries, strawberries. Sometimes I need a candy fix, and I love candy. I love Swedish Fish. I love the watermelon patches. I love the Airheads. Anything chewy, I love. I love the Lifesavers. So I'm a candy person. I do love candy, but when I know I need to do better, and I need that sweet fix, it's the nature's candy that gives me that fixed. All right. The sense of achievement, small victories in the kitchen. Small victories in the kitchen means so much, especially when you really done well. Every successful prepared dish is a small victory that can boost your self-esteem. Please tell me that you understand when you actually cook that meal, you cook it right. You can see how it started. You can see where it was going, and you can see the presentation when it's finished. Please tell me that you don't feel accomplished, even if it's a meal that you cook all the time, your signature meal. Mastering experiences, learning new cooking skills provides a sense of accomplishments. Tangible results, like many aspects of life, cooking provides immediate, tangible outcomes, positive feedback, compliments that's on your cooking, rather from others, or self-acknowledgement, reinforce feelings of competence. A few weeks ago, I made focaccia bread, and I took some to work, and I had made some garlic olive oil. I fused garlic cloves into olive oil, and I took it to work. And one of my coworkers is a full-blooded Italian, and she took a bite of the bread. She looked at me and she said, "Mm-hmm." And that was extremely, extremely a compliment, because focaccia bread is an Italian food. And a full-blooded Italian is like, "Girl, you did that," which I completely was grateful. You know what I mean? And now they did say I needed to add more garlic to the oil, and I took that as constructive criticism. So I knew to add a little bit more garlic. So the next time that I'm able to make this for my coworkers, I know to add just a little bit more garlic, right? Cooking as self-care, nourishing body and soul. In our fast-paced world, cooking can be a form of self-care, right? You got to take care of yourself. This is, again, part of your mental health. You have to take some time to take care of yourself, right? And it's easy, especially for women, to take care of other people, our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, our grandmothers, our aunties. We all fit in that role. And we want to do for, we want to make sure that they eat. We want to make sure that, that laundry's done, the house is clean, the bills are paid. You know what I mean? But you got to take care of you, because if you think about going on an airplane, and if something happens, God forbid, on the airplane, you got to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help somebody else out. Taking the time for yourself, the act of preparing a meal is a way of asserting that you're worth the time and the effort. So I'm worth the time of dicing up the onions and the green peppers and sauteing it. I'm worth the time of, even sometimes it takes me 2 hours just to meal prep. And I'm not making meals. I get a head of broccoli and I slice it up into pieces and put it away, a head of cauliflower. So then that way, when I'm going to prepare a salad, I don't have to cut pieces off the broccoli. It's already prepared. I'm worth that time. I'm worth the time to do that. My family is worth that time. So it's extremely important. Comfort food, preparing family recipes can evoke positive memories and provide emotional comfort, such as the book Black Cake. Black Cake was a comfort food. It brought the family together, and it was something that siblings needed to remember, that this was this purpose, and we used this purpose to come together to discuss the issues. As mentioned with the Golden Girls, when they had a moment, one of them had an issue with a man or a family member or job security, they would go to the cheesecake and they would sit up and they would drink their coffee, their tea, and they would talk about their own personal issues to help another over that cheesecake. Also, it's a stress reliever. The physical act of cooking can release tension, while the result satisfies our basic needs of nourishment. So it's going to help us physically, but can also release the tension, because we're actually working. There's some people that like me, I like to write. That releases tension. I like to work out. That releases tension. And now, in the past couple of years, cooking releases tension for me, because I just feel good that I'm actually doing something for my family, and I don't have to worry that they're not eating properly. Now, does me and my family always eat properly? Absolutely not. But it makes me feel good knowing that I did meal prep. So none of us can say that we don't have this available or we couldn't provide what we needed. Okay. And that's something that I do enjoy with cooking. All right. The flow state. What's the flow state? Losing yourself in the cooking process, the flow, right? Cooking can induce a flow state, a psychological concept associated with happiness and fulfillment. With the word, I can't pronounce it, is to absorption. Complex recipes require full attention, leading to the state of focus. We talked about that. Time transformation. When in flow, time seems to press differently, providing a break from daily worries. Instinctive motives. The process becomes enjoyable for one's own sake, not just for the end result. Experiencing flow through cooking can lead to increased happiness and a sense of fulfillment. So when you're in that flow state, you're creating that fulfillment, right? Cooking through difficult times is a coping mechanism. When you're cooking through those difficult times, it helps with emotional difficulties. Cooking can serve as a helping coping mechanism. Dealing with with control. When life feels chaotic, the structure nature of nature. Wait a minute. When life feels chaotic, the structured nature of flowing a recipe can provide a sense of control. Okay. So what happens is when we get to that flow and cooking can be that pleasant distraction. Emotional release. Kneading dough or chopping vegetables can be a physical outlet. We talked about that. It can serve as an emotional release. By during by turning by turning to cooking during challenging times, you engage in a productive activity that nourishes body, soul, and mind. Okay. Also, building resilience in the kitchen. Lessons from the kitchen, right? We now it's again this risk of sounding redundant. We deal with patience, to adaptability, and perseverance. Patience, waiting for the bread to rise, or favors to develop, teaches the value of patience. Now, I definitely had to deal with that because there's been so many times that when I'm learning how to make bread, it has to rise. It may take maybe more than 8 hours to rise. It may take a day or two to rise, right? To adaptability, learning to substitute ingredients or recover from cooking mishaps foster flexibility and perseverance. Mastering difficult techniques requires practice and persistence. These lessons from the kitchen can translate into increased resilience in facing life challenges. So again, this can help you cope because it's going to teach you how to deal with other things that may shift your mindset, and that can help you build resilience. Evaluating your culture journey with cooking classes. Cooking can be both a personal and social experience, and attending classes is a fantastic way to enhance your skills while also boosting your mental health. Whether you are a novice or looking to refine your techniques, these classes offer a range of benefits. I never took a cooking class, but I tell you what, there's been so many times that I've reached out to people on certain recipes and how to do certain things because I definitely needed it, and I definitely enjoyed them taking the time to tutor me. Cooking competitions, team building, cooking classes, cooking class parties, couples cooking classes for beginners, right? All these things can definitely help you because again, you are engaging with other people, you get to know other people. Even a competition, it can there's nothing wrong with friendly competition, especially if you're just really just having a good time. I like to say I'm a competitive person, but I'm not going to be a competitive person where it's going to demonize somebody else. I'm going to be a competitive person where I want to challenge myself to do better and more so, and also applaud whoever exceeded me. Like, you know what, you did that. That is awesome. So proud of you. And show me what your secrets were so I can do it too. All right. Your kitchen is your sanctuary. This is also a type of mental health. Your kitchen being your sanctuary, we've explored the benefits of cooking extend far beyond the nutritional value of the meals we create. Your kitchen can be a space of mindfulness, creativity, social connection, and personal growth. It's a place where you can nourish not just your body, but your mind and soul. It's your sanctuary. It's where you dwell, where you're creating something for yourself and your family, where you can um, really, again, find that zen, find that relaxation, right? As we explore the benefits of cooking, extend far beyond the nutritional value of the meals you create. Again, your kitchen can be a space for mindfulness, creativity, social connection, and personal growth. So the next time you towel your apron, remember you're not just preparing a meal, you are engaging in the act of self care, creativity, and connection. Whether you're a novice cook or a seasoned chef, each time you step into the kitchen, you have the opportunity to boost your mental health and well being. All right, let me just go ahead and give a shout out. We're on the air from Nigeria. Dial in is 605-562-0444 or 717-734-6904. Press the show identification number 645-1150. Hit the pound sign and then £1 and then start to talk to us live. We are on the air, brought to you by Ngozi Time Multimedia. All right. I am enjoying this topic because, again, me, if it's something that I can do, right? I was so want me to do that because it just made me feel good because they knew that I can make certain foods, right? When I make my pretzels, my soft pretzels, people go crazy over my soft pretzels. In fact, I have an order for 2 dozen this weekend. So that, I mean, that just makes me happy. And it's my sanctuary. And you know what I do sometimes? I'm waking up early in the morning, like maybe 3, 4 in the morning, and preparing my breads, my bagels, my sourdough breads, my sandwich breads, even muffins. And I'm preparing this for my family so they have something to grab for breakfast. They have something to grab for lunch. All right. So let's think about this. With tapping into that creative realm, what is a method in making a meal? Do you find a recipe? Do you buy cookbooks, or you buy random ingredients and see what happens? I look at recipes. I do have a few cookbooks, but I'm somebody that would Google a recipe, right? Most beginners follow recipes as they should. They are easily inspirable pieces of work with measurements of building something, right? When I started cooking, this is fun. I've learned recipes. I watched the food. I've watched a lot of people on YouTube. I'll just go on YouTube and say, I need to learn. I learned how to make lentils because I always mess them up. Again, this is part of the resilience and your patience. So I learned how you got to soak your lentils for a significant amount of time. And that's when I came across Derek Serrano. And I started looking at all his videos. And these were so many delicious meals. And most of the meals he made with lion's mane, like lion's mane steak and lion's mane chicken. And I've learned that even when you're making the large portobello, you got to press that water out, because mushrooms contain so much water. It made me feel good to learn. It's like, okay, I can make this now. I can try this now. And before you know it, my husband and I were at the grocery store, and I'm stuffing the cart with all these vegetables and chefing it up and enjoying it. I've sent pictures to my sister-in-law because she's a chef. I showed pictures to my colleagues at work, and some of them are willing to try vegan food. Just recently, I mastered how to make a vegan lobster roll. I mean, this is things that I went on, I saw on YouTube and I watched. Also, because we garden, we have a big garden. This is very rewarding because the garden that we're growing is natural, of course, it's organic, and we're using these vegetables that we're growing in our meals. When I'm making my vegan tacos, we're using these in our meals, from the jalapenos that we grow to the tomatoes to make the pico de gallo to the and then when I make caprese salad, I make it with tomatoes in the garden. I use the basil from my garden. And when I need to make something with dill, I'm growing dill. I'm able to cut it. I'm learning how to cut it so it can grow. The spinach and kale is from my garden. So I have a fresh spinach and kale salad with my cucumbers from my garden, with my tomatoes from my garden, sometimes with my banana peppers from my garden. It is something that is extremely, extremely, extremely rewarding. All right. Okay. I've definitely posted them on Facebook and social media. Looking back, some things don't look as appealing and pleasing as others. I remember I caught myself making bagels. I caught myself making bagels. I tried it. They were super small. And I jokingly called my bagels, "Oh, ye of little faith bagels." And what was so funny was everybody laughed at me, and I laughed at myself because these bagels were not attractive. They were good, but they were not attractive. But I didn't give up. I worked and tried again. And the next batch were not as ugly as the first batch, but it was, again, it's a process. And I did not give up in the process because, again, it takes resilience. All right. Sometimes you got to understand that food is a science, but it seems like the creative cooking, I'm not going to say that I just know how to create something from scratch. I'm not a create something from scratch person. I have to learn a recipe. I'm learning that. But as I learn the recipe, I'm able to maybe add something different. Say, I don't like that taste. I'm going to add this seasoning to give that taste. Cooking is a valuable skill that everyone should be able to do. Parents teach your children how to cook. Teach them patience. My daughter does not really like cooking, but I encourage her to cook because one day she may be a wife and a mother, and her husband may not be the cook. So what needs to be done is I want her to have that patience in cooking to have that patience and taking the time. I want her to allow herself to make mistakes, allow a food, something she makes, to be horrible. If it's nasty, throw it out. We're going to try it again, perfect it. It takes patience. And again, this helps you tap into your mental health. Okay. Also, look at this HIT, HIIT. It stands for high intensity interval training, where you have to train really hard in a short amount of time, and is arguably a good thing to do when getting healthy. Think of the cardio mindset, right? I personally hate HIT. When I work out, I hate HIT. I actually do the modified version of the HIT because I do huff and puff. I do have asthma, so I definitely know my physical limits, but it's necessary for your physical health. Cooking is one of the fastest way to flex your creative muscle, mainly because you are playing with the temperature, a very sensitive time mechanic, whether it's stir fry or braised pork. Okay, again, I don't eat pork. Doesn't matter. This is part of the HIT. The length of time for a piece of food is significantly shorter than any patient or sculpture. Not only that, but cooking is the easiest method to get creative because it costs next to nothing and you can screw up. Like I teach my daughter, it's okay to burn something. Okay. Don't set the house on fire. It's okay to burn something. All right. We're going to take it off the oven. We're going to take it off the stove. We're going to let it cool off. We're going to throw it away and we're going to try again. All right. If you look at cooking an egg, which is nowadays eggs are expensive. I don't eat eggs, but I understand eggs are expensive. There's a million ways to screw up an egg. You can break the yolk, you can add too much salt, or the proteins can congratulate too much. If you like your yolk a certain way, then that gets even harder. There's always to make an egg. Remember back in the day when we used to boil the eggs for Easter, there was a hard-boiled eggs. We would put them in our salads or tuna salads, things like that. Because eggs are so delicate, they make the perfect medium to try anything. You can only cook the whole egg like 10 different ways with various volumes of water or oil. But if you separate the white and yolk, both have crazy properties to create a masterpiece. Egg whites, for example, can be whipped and create edible clouds. And yolk is a powerful, which is powerful and can enrich us, can make a sauce such as holiday sauce and lemon curd. Yet it takes 10 minutes at most to prepare an egg, much faster than any type of creative art form when it comes to a beginner. All right. And again, this is so extremely powerful because it's tapping into your mental health, it's tapping into your creativity. And sometimes we get stifled because we do not allow ourselves to get into that creative realm. And you could be working on anything. You could be working on a painting. You can be working on a hand project. You could be working on a book, and I can be stifled. And there's so many ways to get out of that block. You could take a walk. You can read a book. You can exercise. Sometimes cooking can help you. Sometimes creating a meal can help you. And it can just get you out of that mindset that you're stuck at into another mindset where you're actually able to relax your mind. Because when you're stuck, you get anxious. When you're stuck, you get antsy. You may have a panic attack. You may feel like a failure. You may feel like you can't accomplish anything. And if you can just, even if you just cook some oatmeal and you add your sweeteners, I like brown sugar, it's taking you away from that mindset, right? From the mindset prior. And as you're eating, you're thinking like, maybe I should do this picture like that, or maybe I should write about this character like that. And it can really, really open it. And it also, if you are a cook, if you want to be a chef, creating that plate, making that plate, that canvas, you're making something so beautiful. And the presentation, if you think about how they serve at the restaurants, the presentation is extremely pretty. Think of the Japanese and Chinese restaurants, how they have the wasabi look like a flower. Think of when you go to hibachi, how they're doing the things with the spatulas and the knives, and they're flipping the egg in their hat, and they're lighting the hibachi grill and the flames. And I love a good flame. And think of even how they creatively slice their vegetables. I love the way the zucchini is sliced. I love the way the onions are sliced like in a circle. Me, I'm slicing them. They're all uneven. But think how beautiful that is. That is such creativity. And when they present it to you, it's like, oh, look at this. Look at what I have for you. Look at what I presented for you. Look what I made for you. It's something extremely, extremely, extremely beautiful. So when you are tapping into that creative realm, think of cooking, and then think of how meals once again can bring families together. Think of sitting at the table and fellowshipping, is what the church would say, coming together. Think of passing the bread, breaking the bread. That's how a lot of treaties were done. They came together and they broke bread. They broke the bread. They sat down and had meals because they was comfortable. They was relaxed. They was entertaining. There was idle chit chat. And then they got into, say, political chit chat. And because the food was good, because the atmosphere was nice, they were able to really come together with a perfect plan to help something for mankind or for the country or whatever the case is. That's really something that you really, really, really want to think about. Think of the family time we will have when we celebrate Thanksgiving. Think of the time where we gather around the table and we bless the food for our family members. Think of how you cannot wait to sit down and eat Big Mama's mac and cheese. Or we had a friend of ours at a church I used to fellowship with. She's one of our church mothers, and she would make this big, huge container of pot of green beans. Her green beans were to die for. Think something like that. I mean, just a taste where you could just taste in your mouth and just know, and just talking with one another. Think again, once again, problem solving. Think of how we can get together and just eat over a meal or that cheesecake and say, you know what, girl, it's going to be all right. And you know what I would do if I were you? I would do the situation. I would maybe not call that man back. You know what I mean? Girl, don't take that. You're better than that. All right, caller one, you're in the queue. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
It's not ordinary. It's unique. How are you doing tonight?
How are you tonight?
I'm blessed. I like the topic of cooking because it is healing through cooking. It's healing for the soul, certain foods that you cook. Um, I'm from Louisiana, so we eat a lot of fish and shrimp, and we bless the food, and we eat greens for wealth. We eat shrimp and fish for longevity. We don't eat a lot of pork.
Mm-hmm.
We don't eat a lot of chicken. Mostly our foods are Cajun cook, rice, stir fries with vegetables. We use a lot of vegetables, red beans and rice. It's just a lot of meals that we fix with corn. We eat sushi. My family is a rainbow, so it's just a variety to learn different cultures of food and just not just stick to the black culture. Learn to come out your comfort zone, and you never know. You enjoy food like we put shrimp in our cabbage.
Yeah.
We put corn. We put corn in our cabbage. We stir fry it. We cook with a lot of onions and bell peppers and saute it. So it's a lot of meals that you can cook that have protein.
Yeah.
That you don't have to just eat meat. So you picked a good topic.
Thank you so much.
I'm supporting you. And my next show is going to be next Tuesday, the 26th. Plus, I will be on www.podbean.com with Dr. O. Ngozi each Saturday night on The Groove. And you should tune in and come and talk with us for a while and groove with us for a while.
I would love to do that.
Is it something you would like to ask me?
Yes, I was going to ask you, do you have a signature meal that you make? It's something your family says or your friend says, girl, I need you to make this.
I make a saute with bell peppers and onions, and I add asparagus, and I add water chestnuts and I saute it up, and I add grilled chicken, or I might put salmon on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I might make we call it southern corn, where we stuff the corn, as y'all would call it.
Okay.
The Texas people, where we get whole corn,
mm-hmm.
and we steam it, and we add sour cream and chives, and we add lemon and lime juice, and we serve it on the side with asparagus and maybe grilled salmon or baked fish, and we grilled chicken, and they love it. They love my red beans and rice, or the gumbo.
I'm ready to eat that. I love one dish I do love is red beans and rice, and I mix it with the plant-based protein and some cornbread, and it's something that I completely enjoy.
Yes, we do hot water cornbread,
mm-hmm.
and I mean, it's just a variety of meals that we cook.
Thank you so much for sharing. You got my mouth watering right now. Thank you so much. And it's almost 11 o'clock. I'm about to hit this kitchen. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
You be blessed on tonight.
Yes, ma'am. You do the same. God bless you. Something to think about. No matter the religion that you're in, before Jesus, took his assignment to the cross, he had a meal with his disciples. They had some bread and wine, and he just talked to them briefly about almost the next assignment for him and encouraging them. And the fact it was that meal that they had together, right? It's our bread and wine, and he even washed their feet. It was that personal fellowship time. And then even after his resurrection, there was a point where they saw him grilling. He was cooking fish. He had a fire. He was cooking some fish, and he was talking to his disciples. He was comforting Peter, because we know that those that followed the Christian doctrine, Peter had denied him, and so he was cooking the fish over the fire. And again, it was that personal time, that time for it's time to heal. I mean, we've made mistakes. We've done things we're not proud of, but we're not going to stay in it. And I'm going to charge you to do the right thing. And that's something that how cooking deals with the mental health. I know when for my birthday, the year I turned 40, I had a friend of mine make some shrimp gumbo, and it was the most delicious gumbo that I ever had. I know sometimes my husband and I will go on a date night, we'll go out to eat, and just us talking and recapping our week, and we're talking about plans for the next week, or we're just talking about kids and family members. I mean, we could be, it's just us, but the fact is we're taking that time. And one of the mistakes I made, after I got to a certain age, I stopped eating at the kitchen table, right? I would fix my plate, whatever, and I would go into the game room. We had table setting at the game room, and I would just eat dinner there. And then as I got older and married, I really didn't sit at the kitchen table. Everybody just kind of scattered. Dinner was made, but everybody scattered. But then the past year, my husband and I, especially on a Sunday, I would cook dinner, and sometimes he's out in the garage, he's relaxing in the garage, or he's sitting outside in the yard, and I'll call him on his phone or send a text, say, hey, dinner is ready. And we now sit down at the dinner table and eat. And now it moved from Sunday to every day. I make it a point to sit at the table and eat. I make it a point because there's nothing more than just gathering together and just eating. And it's nothing point. And then, of course, when you cook together, when you're working together, I might not be able to, to mince up the garlic. I may not be able to mince up the onions. My husband is a good mincer. We're working together. We're spending time together. You know what I mean? And if you come from a multicultural family, just like our caller previously, it's such a beautiful thing to just eat different foods as opposed to the same thing. If everything was the same, then where can we find the love in the diversity? You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of Chinese food. I can eat Chinese food every day, but I mix it up. I may have a I'm learning how to make the veggie burgers. I love Mexican food, right? I'm learning how to make my own ground meat for my vegan tacos. I made, vegetable fajitas. I made vegan shrimp fajitas. I'm loving this because it's teaching me a variety. Um, I have my staple, some sauteed tofu that I season to taste like chicken. And steam up some broccoli, some rice, you know what I mean? Learning how to make the sauces, comes together. And when you're working together and when you're working, doing this, and it's creating a creative outlet, you're getting, I don't want to say always stressed. You may not just be stressful. You just want to cook. And if you really think about it, it saves so much money. You know what I mean? It's a meal with what's going on with inflation. You could buy a small meal for almost $20. And I mean, yeah, I have $20 and you have $20, but and you could spend it or you may choose not to spend it, but sometimes you just might need to save that $20. You never know what's going to happen. And if you learn how to cook, you know what I mean? You're saving that money. And at the risk of being condescending, there's times where I had a meal at a restaurant and I said, I could have made this better. So not only did I waste my money at this restaurant, because the meal wasn't the best, I just knew that because I'm learning my spices and how to cook certain foods, I can actually cook it better. You know what I mean? And that's just the power of it. I've allowed my creativity to be used. And that's just something that we really need to, take in consideration and focus on. And kudos to the chef. If you do go to a restaurant and you enjoy that time, talk to the chef. See if you can talk to the chef. Ask what spices they use. Ask what it is, how they cook it. Do they saute it? Do they grill it? Do they boil it? Do they steam it? You know what I mean? And most restaurants have a specific recipe and things like that that they got to follow. But maybe that chef is new to cooking in the kitchen and want to open up their own restaurant. Talk to them about how they feel about cooking. Talk to them about what is their signature meals and what is it that they want to do. They may want to open up a restaurant. They may want to do this. What inspired them to become a chef? You know what I mean? Because it's more than just to cook at Red Lobster. It's more than just to cook at Applebee's. It's more than just to cook at whatever restaurant. They actually may be inspired to be a chef. You know what I mean? My sister-in-law is a chef. She's known as Chef Shanye. She has a book called Seafood Differently. And before I went plant-based, I tasted just about almost every meal in that cookbook. And it's all delicious. She had some food tasting. She taught me how to pair it with wines. It just makes you feel so good, not physically good, but emotionally, mentally good, because she's sharing something with you in her cookbook. And she was inspired by her multicultural heritage, her Italian heritage, and her African-American heritage. And she's combining these meals together to make it extremely, extremely, extremely delicious. And that's something you need to think about. And then if you really understand the power of mental health is something that, of course, I don't want to use the word trending, but everybody's becoming more aware of the mental health that's going on from the anxiety to the bipolar 1, bipolar 2, to the panic attack, to the depressions, to extended grief. You know what I mean? Cooking can help you come out of those states. You know what I mean? Just like I've mentioned before, Derek Serrano, he was in this extended grief period and he couldn't cope. So he left the country to kind of understand the reason that it happened, understand why this happened to his beloved fiance. And in that time, he found himself and he said, I don't want anything to hurt. No living creature, no person, no animal. And by him going complete vegan and learning how to change his taste buds, I've tried making some of his meals. I've made some of his meals. I use the proper recipes that he posted on his YouTube pages. I was beyond impressed at how delicious these foods are. And they're made with love because they're made in the honor of his fiance. And because he does share his recipes with his neighbors and his friends, and he hosts small intimate dinner parties. He's just giving it back. He is a guy that I follow, and I'm so glad I followed him, because when you're going through a tough time from grief, to say a break in a relationship, you might need a good meal, just to sit back. And it could be a comfort food. It could be a comfort meal where you just want to kind of stuff your face with it, kind of eat up a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't stay in it. But cooking can heal that. Cooking can be like, you know what? I'm going to fix me something to eat. Once you come out the fog, once you begin your healing process, cooking can help you just heal from that. I had a cousin, unfortunately, she passed away in June of this past June. And I was talking to her aunt from her mother's side. And she was saying like she lost her drive just because she likes to cook. She lost her drive. And it wasn't because of the death of the cousin. It was because of the death of other loved ones. So she was in a prolonged grief. And I told her, I said, cook and give it away. Somebody may be hungry. Minister to somebody else with your cooking. Help somebody else. Okay. And you just never know how it's going to help. You just never know where you might be feeding a family that's hungry. You may not know where their next meal is coming from because they're going through financial situations. It can, of course, bring families together, like we talked about with, the holidays, who's making the deviled eggs? All right. Who's making the mac and cheese? All right. Who's bringing their signature biscuits? You know what I mean? It's coming together and just sitting together and just fellowshipping. And if you're cooking for one, is this maybe you might need that alone time, that self-care where you are actually enjoying your time. There was a TV series, Girlfriends, with Tracee Ellis Ross. And while all the other characters was going through their drama, you kept seeing Tracee Ellis Ross so excited about eating her sandwich because she had that alone time. There's times where I'm enjoying my home cooked meal, my alone time, my self-care time. There's times where I'm cooking my meal and I see my daughter sniffing around like, okay, what are you making? There are times where she even asked me to cook her something to eat for lunch because she didn't want to spend any money. And she knew that I have a signature gravy that I make. And I was exhausted. I was extremely exhausted. And I said, you know what? I'll cook it, but you're doing the dishes. She said, deal. And the fact that I was able, what daughter or son doesn't want their mother's cooking? If their mother knows, or their parents cooking, I'll say that. Back in the day, my dad used to make the meanest spaghetti. He'll put ground meat, he'll put Italian sausage, of course, the green peppers, the red peppers, the onions. He'll put mushrooms in it. He will cook it in a cast iron skillet. And I knew this cast iron skillet. So whenever I came home from school or it was on a Saturday and I seen this cast iron skillet out, I knew it was about to go down because he was making his signature spaghetti. My mother also had a signature spaghetti, but she would cook her spaghetti in a crock pot. So when I saw that crock pot out, I said, man, we about to do something. It's about to get serious up in here. My mother made a mean roast beef, right? I'm surprised that we my brother and I have table manners to this day because both parents were great cooks. There was one Thanksgiving that we begged our mother, we were going out to family members, we begged our mother to cook the turkey, and she didn't prepare to cook the turkey. So she prepared it, the night before, but unfortunately it wasn't ready prior to going to the family member's house, and that's okay. But when we came home, we devoured that turkey because it was the moisture, the way she cooked it. It was just those that they bring good memories. When you think about stuff, you laugh at those memories. You know what I mean? There was a funny situation that my mom's mom had an allergic reaction to a piece of fish that she ate. It must have been the fish or the seasoning. And she had asthma and her asthma was being triggered. And she didn't want to say anything because she was worried about her numbers. She had to make sure that when the lottery man came on TV, that she can, check her numbers to see if she played. My mother and her brothers were like, you got to be kidding me. Well, you're going to the hospital. But again, it's because the family came together. We had a great meal with the exception of the allergy. And we was able, here's the thing. What if we left after we ate and not sat around and talked? My grandmother could have been very, very dangerously ill. But it was just the fact that we was all together, and we still laugh at this to this day. My dad's mother used to take me to McDonald's to get a McChicken sandwich for my birthday. It was like one of my things. And she'll take me to get shoes for my birthday as well. But that's just a fun memory. And even though it's McDonald's, and we're not going to be talking about McDonald's, but it was a memory that she and I have together. And it's something that is extremely beautiful when you can come together. You know what I mean? And the physical health behind it, because you have to have physical endurance to be in the kitchen where it's hot, to dice the onions, to mince the garlic, to slice up the peppers. If you're kneading dough, you have to knead the dough. I'm gonna tell you a secret. When you're making bagels, if you don't have a mixer, you have to knead the dough for about 15-20 minutes, and it gets really tough. So your fingers get cramped, your fingers get sore, and you have to knead it. This is why you definitely need a mixer. But think about back in the day when they didn't have the mixers, the endurance. You might have to get up early to prep it. Once again, type of endurance. This is something that it can help you. It can teach you patience. It can teach you resilience. The patience is so powerful because you got to wait for things to cook. It's not a fast food, okay? And then even pop in your microwave. I used to pop, of course, everything in the microwave. And then one day I decided to heat up my leftovers in the oven, which means I got to wait about 20 minutes to a half hour. And I learned how to be patient with that because I want my leftovers to kind of taste like it did the day before. You know what I mean? I just don't want it nuked it in the microwave. I don't want that airy taste sometimes the microwave provides. So I'm going to wait, especially if I cooked it, because I'm worth it. Again, cooking can help you value who you are. Like, I'm worth this meal. I'm worth the time it's taken in this meal. And then you can teach your family that they're worth the time in taking in that meal. And I mean, it can help your family to teach them that you're worth the time that I made for this meal. And it's such a beautiful, 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 beautiful moment. And that's one of the things I do love. I completely enjoy cooking. I love now watching cooking videos, Tabitha Brown, Derek Serrano, as mentioned, Plant-Based Brandon. I follow a lot of vegan chefs on Instagram. And they are, to me, they're having a good time making the meal. It doesn't seem like a chore. I love watching the things on YouTube, you know what I mean? Because I'm learning how to cook certain things. I'm taking accountability of the mistakes I made, even rushing it. Like, I made sweet potato fries yesterday, and I thought that I added too much seasoning. And I almost pitched it. I was like, I don't have time. I got to find another starch. But when I sat down and actually relaxed after I got done cooking, sweet potato fries tasted perfect, right? I'm not just tooting my own horn. They actually tasted perfect. And it was like, okay, I was just maybe in my head, mental. Okay, that's something that we need to take into consideration. All right. So if you are listening right now, please dial in, right? This is what you need to do. What we need to do is we're on the air from Lagos, Nigeria. Dial in at 605-562-0444 or 717-734-6904. Press show identification number 546-11550. Then press 1 in the pound sign, the hashtag sign, right? Also press *2 to talk to us live on the air. That's brought to you by Ngozi Time Multimedia. And we were talking about how tapping into the creative realm by cooking, how it can help you with your mental health. Because sometimes we can get stuck and we can be in our own head, and how it makes us feel. It helps us engaging in our senses. We said this, the sound of the sizzling, the aroma of the spices, the feeling of the dough, all these sensations anchor us into the here and now. It puts us in that moment. So think of the moment when you're cooking something for yourself or your family, that moment where you're just like, that smells good, right? The attention focus following a recipe requires concentration, helping to create a busy mind. Okay, it's the rhythm activity like chopping or stirring can be a meditative, promoting a sense of calm. So how is calming, you know what I mean? How's chopping a sense of calm? It's the rhythm behind it. It's the rhythm, right? Gloria Estefan said, rhythm's going to get you, right? It's nutrition and mood. You are what you cook. Think about it. If you cook nothing but chicken nuggets, heat up chicken nuggets, that's processed meat. You're processed meat. You are what you cook. Rich nutrition, rich choices. Home cooked meals tend to be more nutritious, providing the brain with the necessary fuel. All right. So you think about, say, the herbs such as the basil, the oreganos, the thyme. All these herbs are nutritious for you. They create some type of healthy value to you. So what it is that you will need is they provide it for you. The great Jerry Petito told me one time, I couldn't believe how full I got, how fast it took me to get full. And she said, because your body actually got what it needed. I was like, wow, that makes sense. I got the protein I needed. I got the grain or the starch that I needed. I got the vegetables or the antioxidant and the iron and the vitamin C that I needed, right? Okay. Portion control. We talked about this before. I remember when I was a kid, we went out to not to a fast food restaurant, to like a buffet. And this young lady, she was with us. She literally ate herself sick. Very, very bad. But when you're cooking, you can portion out. You can say, well, you know what? I'm not going to cook for 5 people today. I'm going to cook for just maybe 2. Portion control, right? Because when you overeat, your body is just like, it's just taking in too much. When you overeat, you feel stuck in your body's like, what are you doing? Okay. Cooking for your family members or your friends provides the positive feedback. Who doesn't like to hear the and the ahs and the oohs? And in some cultures, if you don't belch after a meal, it's considered an insult. Because if you belch, they knew that you enjoyed it. So now, of course, here, when we're letting out the belch, we're like, oh, rude. But in some cultures, letting out the belch symbolizes that, okay, they enjoyed their meal. And I mean, who doesn't love positive feedback, especially when you're cooking, right? Cooking is also, like I said, it nourishes body and the soul. Comfort food, preparing familiar recipes can provoke positive memories and provide emotional comfort. It can deal with stress relief. The physical act of cooking can release tension, while the result satisfies our basic needs for nourishment. Taking time for yourself. It's so important to take time for yourself because, as mentioned before, if you don't do it, who will? Now, of course, we got a family and friends who may help us, who may say, hey, girl, come on here, sit down and relax for a little bit. But you really do have to take time for yourself simply because you're important. You're just as important as the next person. I said it earlier. If you're on an airplane and the airplane goes down, you need your oxygen mask. You have to put yours on first before you can help your neighbor. It's mandatory because if you don't help yourself, you can't help anybody else. If you're too sick to cook, you know what I mean? This is one reason why I personally meal prep, because I may have a bug. I have bad allergies. I was just sneezing not too long ago. I have bad allergies. I may not be able to cook. And I have asthma. I might like, you know what? My body's being triggered. So let me just grab something out the fridge that I already pre-cooked and pop it in the oven. Okay. Self-care. Self-care is just so important. And when you don't do the self-care, it causes you to have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, heart attacks. If you could get sick if you don't take care of yourself. Even God rested on the 7th day, not for himself, but to show man that you have to take a break. Some people die from exhaustion. Some people don't rest from exhaustion. And when you don't rest, you get even more sicker. That's I don't even know if that's even a word, more sicker. You have to take care of yourself. That's why I'm another firm believer in cooking, because when you're eating from other restaurants, you just don't know what they're putting in there. And then you come home, you wonder why you're sick. You wonder why an allergy. I know for me, I know when I haven't eaten right because the sinuses are on full throttle. There's something in the spices that I'm allergic to, or it's not organic spices. It's something that I can't like I should not have eaten. So I definitely have to be mindful. And when you're a plant-based, you have to look at the ingredients. You have to look at every ingredient because your body may not be able to take it. And once you detox your system, your body's like, nope, I don't want that in my body. I don't want that I don't want this in our system anymore. Okay. Remember, this also deals with the psychology of cooking. Cooking brings a certain level of mindfulness. Making dish helps create the creativity. Cooking for others help you show compassion. Home cooked meals are healthier. Creating a meal from scratch is a huge accomplishment. Cooking nourishes body and soul. Cooking often recreates deep focus. Making a meal can help during stressful times. Dealing with food can build resilience, right? And I have mentioned before how to use cooking as a stress relief tool. Cooking can be more than just meal preparation. It can become a powerful way to relieve stress and boost emotional well-being. Sensory mindfulness. I've said that before. Cooking is a sensory experience that engages sight, smell, taste, and touch. Focusing on these sensations grounds you in the present moment, reducing stress and anxiety. All right. A form of meditation. The rhythmic actions of chopping, stirring, and kneading have a meditative quality. When you focus on these tasks with intention, cooking becomes a form of moving me, moving meditation. Stimulate creativity. Experimenting with new recipes or ingredients combines stimulates your brain, encouraging a sense of adventure and creativity. Cooking can be a way of expressing your personal culture and emotions. When I was watching Derek Serrano, I needed to it's embarrassing. I needed to really learn how to cook a zucchini and squash. I never really cooked that. So other than a stir fry, I wanted more than just a stir fry. I wanted something else. So when I saw him cook it, he sliced it up in nice circles, and he seasoned it with his, of course, his salt, pepper. He added his garlic seasonings, and then even with the squash, he put some barbecue seasoning on that. I was like, I would have never thought that. That's how limited my mind was, right? And I like that because, let me tell you this, one of my best friends, my all-time best friends, his mother recently died in July. So after the mother's memorial, my husband and I decided, you know what, we're going to cook for him and his brother and his girlfriend. And it was the perfect way to try out the seasoned zucchini and the seasoned squash. And we did a nice, we did a little bit of everything. We barbecued for them, we deep fried stuff for them. And they truly, truly, truly loved the zucchini and squash. And I said, really? I didn't get a chance to taste it yet. But when I did, oh my gosh, it was that delicious. It was that good, right? It was something that I was surprised because this was Derek Serrano's creativity. And because I was inspired by that creativity, I was able to create not just a meal with the zucchini and squash, but the fact that I took the risk and tried it, that my friends enjoyed it. All right. And his brother is learning how to cook. So, of course, we went out to my garden and I was able to give him some rosemary and some green onions and some oregano, which, of course, it just made my heart glad because, again, I was able to give back. Right. It how it helps with stress relief. It helps with problem solving skills, adapting recipes, or salvaging mishaps in the kitchen, taps into your creative problem solving skills. Overcoming challenges in the kitchen can boost mood, self esteem, and give you a sense of accomplishment, right? Problem solving skills. I mentioned before I ruined some tofu eggs, and I was not able to properly fix that. So I had to pitch it, but I knew that what I could do, right? And sometimes you may not add the right seasonings to it that you may want to add to a certain recipe, so you can alternate. Also, it helps you even learn how to be creative with substitution. What's the substitution for chili powder? Smoked paprika, curry. What's the substitute for garlic powder? Of course, minced garlic. If you don't have minced garlic, you can always use garlic powder. Grainy or garlic, I like because when you cook it in your pan, it doesn't burn as much as garlic powder. These are little things that you kind of learn. Olive oil and extra olive oil, right? And extra virgin olive oil, okay? I've learned, of course, the extra virgin is better cooked, better used for cooking vegetables as opposed to the olive oil. Something I learned. Even when you're cooking rice, the best way to do it is to rinse it off prior to putting in the water. These are problem solving skills because they get rid of like a lot of that starch. We don't need that starch. It's just a great way. It provides emotional comfort. Cooking familiar comfort dishes invokes positive memories and provides emotional comfort. Physical tension, of course, I talked about it. It can relieve some physical tension. All right. These are my final thoughts. Tap into that creativity. Try cooking something, even if it's a PB&J. Be creative with it. Put some bananas on it. Put some potato chips on it. Try to tap into that creativity with cooking and have a great time. Next is my favorite time of the hour, Ngozi time.
Well, first of all, I want to thank B. Davis for what she carried this show. I mean, that's a masterclass of, carrying a show, and only having like one caller. So, you know what I mean? That's old school definition too. So we are journalists. We should be prepared at all times. From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
All right, family, thank you so much for taking the time to view on Facebook, and those who called in and those who tried to call in, thank you again. And remember, tap into that creative, and thank you for joining me in the Phoenix Lounge.